What's up, everyone? It's absolutely crazy to actually say this, but we're at the 200th video, and honestly, I can say that all the different things that you've told me that have helped me become halfway decent at doing what it is that I do. I wanted to make this video because I've been getting a lot of questions lately, rightfully so, as to why I changed the name of the channel from Doing Fed Time to Sam Ben. And it's absolutely a legit question that I really wanted to take the time to address. But instead of replying in the comments or DMs or over and over again, I figured that it would make more sense to break it down in a video so everyone can get the full picture of why. First, I want to address that along with this change of the channel name, I've also switched over many of my other accounts to also match this. It's not just YouTube. In addition to that, now you can also access my site, not just from doingfedtime.com, but also from samben.com. I've also set it up so that I'm no longer using Gmail, a thing that I know a lot of people, it really irked a lot of people, including myself. Initially, when I got out of prison, I created the Gmail because I really just didn't care about privacy, like my privacy specifically. As time went on, I would get emails from various people, and in them, they would obviously question why I was using Gmail. And it absolutely makes sense given the fact that they have zero privacy. I did actually pretty exhaustive and extensive research on various email providers. And as a result of that research, I'm actually going to start a series where I talk about some of them. And I'll cover a bunch of different ones. But I ended up going with Proton, and I know I cringed too when signing up. But and we'll get into that. I know people are like, what do you mean? I'll get into that too. But it's better than Gmail. So in time, I do plan to migrate to other more anonymous centered email providers. In the meantime, though, you can reach out to me at contact@samben.com. Also, if you ever need to find my social medias besides this one, including my darknet social media, you can find it on my site by going to the social media tab, and everything's there. This is going to be the point of contact that's probably most updated the most often if you need it. For example, another update that I've done regarding my security was to upgrade my PGP key, which is something that absolutely has been very much long overdue. That public key is now listed on my site. I still have to update my keybase, but I'll get to that in time. In addition to that, I've also made various improvements to things like physical security. And this is why you really haven't seen many videos in the last week or so, because these are the kind of things that I've been working on. I tell you guys have good OPSEC. I have to follow those same things too, even if I'm not breaking the law now. I still like to do my OPSEC reviews and brush up and try to improve. I have an absolutely insane backlog at this point, though, of videos, which means I'm really excited about this one of these next videos, which is going to be about Drug Hub, and that's coming up. I'm also still working on Everyone's a Criminal, which is a video basically detailing all the reasons why everyone in the country is a felon, whether they know it or not. When I first started this channel, to kind of get back to the whole switching the name thing, the name Doing Fed Time was tied to the whole idea of becoming a federal prison consultant. And for those of you that don't know, federal prison consultants are basically supposed to help people who are about to face time in the feds. Their job is to educate you on what to expect and sometimes to help with things like sentence mitigation, which is a whole other topic. But essentially, they tried to help you reduce the amount of time that you'll serve before you even get to prison. This is like outside of your lawyer and all those things. I became a certified paralegal while I was locked up. So dealing with things like judges, motions, and just the legal process in general, it was something that I was more used to, basically. And I quickly realized that the federal prison consultancy industry as a whole, which by the way is absolutely zero regulations, is absolutely full of scams and some really bad predators in terms of snakes. Most of these consultants fall into like one of three categories. They're either rats, guys who were fraudsters, typically ripping off their own clients, or ex-BOP employees. And like, honestly, I wouldn't trust any of them as far as I could throw them. The first category of like ex-rat inmates that became federal prison consultants have absolutely no clue on how to actually be a convict or carry yourself. And therefore, they can only give half-baked advice on inmate methodology, which is basically just going to be like boo-licking everyone with authority. The fraudsters are the guys who actually ripped off their clients and then got caught for it and ended up getting federal sentences. And now they're doing the same thing, but in a different context. So going with them is equally as stupid. The last are the ex-government prison employees or Bureau of Prison employees who turn into federal prison consultants. And these guys are, in my opinion, they're also trash because they've never actually done a day of prison time. Like, they might have been in the prison. There's a big difference between living there and working there. And as an inmate or a convict, which, again, there are pretty big differences with those two things alone, but all of them have a few things in common as far as federal prison consultants go, that they basically, they overcharge for very basic information. Many use fear to manipulate people into spending more. The majority have spent time in like minimum security prison camps, not in medium or high security facilities where things are really kicking off. Things get very real there. And not all of them, but like it definitely happens. There's a lot of really brutal places in the federal system. There are lows that exist that also have people that get down. Shout out to Fort Dix. Anyways, most of these guys have only ever been to minimum prison camps where fistfights might be the worst thing that happens. And to make matters worse, one of the biggest ones that's one of the most well-known, I'm not going to say his name because I'm good with getting sued, but he basically hasn't even been to a federal facility. He said he went to some private prison camp. Like, I remember reading a book about the same facility that he went to, and like they were talking about how they had a choir room at this place right off the bat. I mean, that should tell you what you need to know. This person definitely should not be charging basically anything for his advice or services, but definitely not 5 or 6 figures that he is charging. Just basically, to put it bluntly, these consultants exploit people in vulnerable situations. They'll check out your case on Pacer, and they don't care what you did. You could be a child molester, you could be a rat, they don't care. They're going to run credit checks, and they're going to figure out exactly how much they can squeeze out of you. And you could be like a good dude, and they'd still do the exact same thing. There's no morality whatsoever. It's just, to me, it was very disgusting. And the more that I actually talked to these guys, the more that I realized just how deep the corruption runs in that particular industry. And for me, it became very, very clear from a very early time that my values just don't align with that industry. Like, I would rather be a drug dealer than to do that. It felt like watching a car crash happen kind of in slow motion, and the only option basically was to get out of the way as fast as possible. These people were doing the exact opposite of what I actually wanted to do. They weren't helping anyone. They were just taking advantage of people. And that's why I stepped away from that whole scene. And really what's crazy is you could talk to someone who hired one of these con artists, and the majority of the time, they'll be absolutely convinced that the person did a ton of work and they helped them immensely. I had multiple conversations with people exactly like this inside that had spent $50,000, $100,000 on these consultants. The fact of the matter really is that with federal prison consultants, the client can actually never really know if that's actually true. A lot of the guys who are hiring these guys, I mean, they're not It's not like they've been to federal prison before. That's why they're hiring them to begin with. So they have no metrics to base effectiveness on, really. And that's also why the channel started to shift focus, right? Talking about federal prison all the time also gets kind of depressing. Honestly, the people watching my content, from the ones that I've talked to, they're not dealing with federal indictments, which is great. That's awesome. They're more interested in operational security and also darknet markets. And that's where I felt like I could make a real difference in general. Instead of just like telling people how to survive after they've been convicted, I could help people avoid that mess entirely. And that's awesome. I wanted to starve the federal judicial system of people to swallow whole, because in my opinion, it's absolutely a system of enslavement. And I'm just not a fan of slavery in general, of human beings. And I know people who will say that it's blown out of proportion, but I would suggest that those people go read the 13th Amendment and understand it before making that assertion. And I also admit there are absolutely people who are psycho and sociopaths that absolutely should be there, predators, stuff like that, absolutely should be in prison. I digress. That's a whole side issue. But ironically, I enjoy talking more about darknet markets way, way more. The landscape is always changing, right? And there's definitely a era of freedom and agorism that's very well and alive with this topic. And I feel like I can offer some kind of insights that actually help other people stay out of trouble. And that's really what makes this a passion project from this channel specifically. If I had to sum it up, I was to say the change to the name was really to reflect the actual state of the channel. It was really about having some kind of positive impact and reducing harm as much as possible by educating people about OPSEC. And obviously this isn't just limited to the darknet, right? Like it's applicable to anything. And on a side note, if I can help someone avoid spending 10 to 20 years in a federal prison for something like a non-violent crime, that's absolutely a win in my book. In contrast to that, the vast majority of the subscribers that I've talked to on this YouTube channel aren't actually criminals. They're law-abiding citizens. Like, what do they get from this? Well, if they're interested in operational security or cybersecurity, then in my opinion, they get a whole lot, considering the fact that the discussion that we're having is about basically how to remain safe in one of the most hostile, ruthless networks on the planet, with adversaries like feds, who in some cases have black budgets to be able to catch people. And if you can manage to stay safe or anonymous in that kind of environment, then there's not really any place on this planet that you can go where you can't be safe, right? I mean, what it is, electronically anyways, not physically. Oh, I went on the darknet and I'm going to go to El Salvador. Yeah, there's definitely, but electronically, sure. On top of that, I've got some really big projects in the works that I've talked about kind of offhand every once in a while, but I've been designing a course for well over a year now, and that's all about giving people the skills that they need to stay safe online. To absolutely a master course, but in my opinion, it breaks down virtually every aspect of the topic of operational security and digital security. This course covers operational security, specifically stuff like darknet awareness and practical tools that align with things that we discuss on this channel. I'm also working on YouTube memberships. Said I was going to activate at 20,000 members, but I wanted to make sure that anyone who actually supports this channel gets real value in return, right? Like whether it's exclusive content or community interaction of some kind, or features like the ability to communicate on a dedicated matrix server. That's another thing that I'm setting up. I have so many plates that are spinning. It's nuts. But My goal is to try and give back as much as possible. Basically, I want to make sure that if someone does sign up for something like a membership here on YouTube, that I give them their money's worth. It's something that's very, very important to me. And that's why I'm taking it so seriously. And not just here, but even when I was a darknet vendor, right? So like I'm a Libra, so it's all about things being even, right? It's like the scales. I'm just, I'm kidding. But yeah, there's some truth into it, but I am kidding. I don't really co-sign to like astrological signs. So I didn't do fraud. But anyways, speaking of the Matrix server, like I've been trying to work on it to integrate with the YouTube API, so that basically like the people who support the channel can access it on a certain level, and everyone else gets it on a different level. But it turns out that I suck at this, and it's been one of the main holdups for actually announcing memberships. Recently, though, YouTube actually reached out to me with an offer to have like a community partner manager. I didn't even know that existed, but it was something they reached out to me, and like I didn't believe it. I thought it was. I deal with OPSEC, man. It's like very paranoid. So I ended up actually reaching out to them and talking to them, because like, yeah, we've seen Linus Tech Tips get owned repeatedly, and I have everything compartmentalized in my setup, but I get paranoid. And I reached out to YouTube, and they confirmed that the person who had emailed me saying this actually worked for them. So it's been a pretty crazy ride. But back to the server, like whatever I do, it needs to be a secure space for discussions on darknet markets and security and whatever else you want to talk about. So looking ahead, federal prison content basically is going to become rarer than you guys have seen it lately. Basically, I'm shifting focus even more because I feel that it helps more people. Things like operational security and darknet markets. That said, I haven't forgot about like my long-term goal of disrupting the federal prison consultancy industry in general. I'll give you just a sneak peek. Like I am aiming to create a nonprofit or an automated system like an AI or something that offers people the help that they actually need for free or at a much, much lower cost. So those predators basically have no choice but to close shop. That is more of like a 5 to 10 year project though. For now, I'm just going to obviously keep focused on what I do best. And that's trying my best to give you all the content that I possibly can, short of having a nervous breakdown or something. Expect more videos on darknet markets, operational security tips, open source investigations, stuff like that, current events in the world, especially. Everyone who's been along for the ride, whether you watched one video or all 200, thank you. Seriously, your support, your feedback, and like your overall engagement absolutely means the world to me. And I'm really excited about the future, and I can't wait to see where we go from here. As always, I'll catch you in the next video.